He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Kamala Harris made it clear last night that she would not be taking the bait. The same could not be said for Donald Trump.
Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird.
That was Donald Trump at an event in Wisconsin last night. You can tell Governor Tim Walz has gotten under his skin by calling both Trump and his running mate weird. And Trump isn't exactly beating the allegations. His campaign has spent the week dealing with the fallout from an altercation with staff at Arlington National Cemetery, hallowed ground where America's war heroes are laid to rest. It comes just weeks after Trump was caught on camera disrespecting Medal of Honor recipients, suggesting that people who receive awards without putting themselves in physical danger are somehow better off. Back with me are Faz Shakir, Simon Rosenberg, and Mark Leibovich. Mark, I want to start with you because I read something that you had written about how this Arlington Cemetery, and when I say scandal, I almost think that it minimizes almost what happens because it's really egregious what happened at Arlington. But you wrote something about how Trump is testing the patience of some of his most loyal supporters by these. I can't say that these are unforced errors, though, because I feel like that gives Trump an out for conduct that is intentional. And after all, Mark, he was the commander-in-chief of our armed forces. He should have known better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, to sort of distill what the lead into this, I mean, first of all, I thought Kamala Harris's answer here was just brilliant in its reserve, in its dismissiveness, in her not taking the bait, in the same way that in her convention speech, she said, you know, Donald Trump is an unserious man, and then pivoted to the seriousness of his ramifications. And then you sort of look at that and you juxtapose it with Donald Trump actually taking the bait around the weird thing, but also the distraction, as you mentioned, around the Arlington matter, which, you know, is now a 3-4 day story and could only get bigger. And I think the point I was making that you were referring to is that he's had some really hardcore supporters of his inside his base. I mean, one of them have been military families, veterans families, but also, you know, pro-life or anti-abortion voters. And in the last few days, he has really, I think, tested the patience, if not the support of both of those groups. And this sort of goes to the kind of essence of the defense he's playing, and also the willingness that in which he is sort of just taking the bait, or not even taking the bait, causing the bait or causing the distraction, and then sort of falling into the traps that he sets for himself. So, yeah, I think, you know, maybe there is a method to the madness, but it is kind of a certainly, it looks like not a great look for him at this moment.
And Simon, then that's exactly the case, right? Because Kamala Harris doesn't have to respond. All she has to do is let Donald Trump be Donald Trump. He creates the drama. He creates the scandal. He creates the headlines in and of his own actions. And so now Mark says he's on the defense, which is where you don't want to be when you're running in the last 67 days before a presidential election.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons it's going to be so hard for Donald Trump to win this election is that he and J.D. Vance are like negative news machines. They're producing negative stories on an industrial scale every week. I mean, it's really kind of incredible. Vance has been an enormous drag on their ticket. I mean, it's just incredible how much negative press he's generated for this campaign. And Trump, because he's in this crazy place where he's not comfortable with where he is, and he's really lashing out and going back into QAnon. I mean, think about what he did with Arlington, right? This guy is about to get sentenced. I mean, he could be put in jail in a few weeks. He's out on bond for federal charges, and he's now committed a new set of crimes. I mean, what he did in Arlington Cemetery was criminal behavior. He broke federal law on federal property and his staff abused, federal employees, people that work for the United States government. And the level of risk that he's taking here at this moment because of his legal jeopardy that he's in is stunning to me. And it just shows, I think this campaign is a dystopian nightmare right now. It's an unbelievable mess. And I just can't, they cannot get a single day. When you put him out there, it's unbelievable how often what he says sounds crazy and wild. Even when he made his statement today about, opposing the ballot initiative in Florida, the things that he said about why were so bananas and wild, and they can't get a clean hit. And this is a huge problem for them in the closing months of the election.
And so, Faz, Mark says something like Arlington, appropriately so, clocking day 3 maybe of headlines, all negative. Do the Democrats continue to lean into that negativity? And I don't mean that as in creating it. I'm saying amplifying it. To Simon's point, if these are negative headline-making machines that are J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, and again, letting them be who they are, you can do two things at the same time. It's not like an impossible thing for the Harris-Walz campaign to do.
Totally agree. I was reflecting back in 2016 when Donald Trump would do a lot of the same behaviors. He, remember, attacked John McCain for being a POW. Khizr Khan, remember Humayun Khan, I'm going to go after this Gold Star family. And at the time, there was a bit of a novelty to it. Oh, Donald Trump, man, wow, he's playing politics really differently. At this point, Kamala Harris said it best. It's tired and it's old. And you can sense that. He doesn't get the same effect from it because they're just revealing what we've already known about him. And the country has moved on from this disgustingness. The hope that I have about Donald Trump and defeating him this time is that, Dobbs happened and January 6th happened, the trials happened. They just all affirmed the things that we don't want as a nation, don't want as a leader. And I'm hopeful that whoever might have voted for him in 16 and 20, that there are more people willing to say, I am done with that.
But, Mark, we've got 2 impeachments for Donald Trump, 4 indictments. He's convicted for 34 felonies. I mean, the January 6th, the list goes on, but regardless of what those points are, it's a really small spread in those battleground states. So I agree. It's an old, tired playbook that we're dealing with, but it seems to be the case that you have to harp on that and you have to create the juxtaposition of the prosecutor versus the felon, the chaos versus the competence, the democracy versus the dystopian reality that a second Trump term would be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that will all play out pretty starkly at the debate if Kamala Harris does what I think she's capable of doing and probably is preparing to do. And I don't think Donald Trump will be prepared to play defense over. I think the larger point is, as Simon said, it is a dystopian nightmare of a campaign. The question is it going to be something owned entirely by the Republican Party and Donald Trump or by all of us? Because, as you just mentioned, Katie, it's an incredibly close race. And, we have seen time and time again that we don't really have a handle on this. So, yeah, I think that you can, the indicators are certainly very bullish on the part of the Harris campaign and Democrats in general. But again, in November, we're going to find out what kind of country we have. And ultimately, we could be very surprised on the election day.
Faz Shakir, Simon Rosenberg, Mark Leibovich, thanks for getting us launched this evening. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.